Hello and welcome to Lesson 2 of our digital illustration course. In this course what we'll be doing is creating the artwork for a holiday card. To give you an idea of what that'll look like, let's return to the completed file, the holiday card, and you can see here that there is a snowflake, a geometric snowflake in the center, and that's what we're going to be designing today. So on our holiday card, the first thing we want to do is create the colors that we'll be working with. And I chose a blue palette because I think that connects to winter. So what we're going to do is first go into our rectangle tool, click there, and I'm going to hold my shift key down so that I get a perfect square rather than a rectangle, and I'm going to drag, and as you see it's enlarging into an exact square. And I'm going to let go, and that's my first. Then I'm going to go to my select tool. I'm going to click on Alt key. You'll see that it changes to the 2 arrow cursor, and I'm going to drag down, creating another one. I'm still holding my Alt key down, and I'm going to drag again, and the Alt key one more time, and drag down, and that gives me my 4 squares for my color palette. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my mouse and select all of them. And what I want to first do is I want to get rid of the line, line on the outside, so I'm going to choose that, and you can see that if we unclick here, the black line stroke is gone. And then what we're going to do is then change the color. Now what I've done is I've already selected a color, so I'm going to go back into my file, grab this, I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back into my file. I'm going to Control V, which is the shortcut for pasting, or you can do Edit, Paste. And I have 2 here, so I'm going to select all 4 of them, drag them over here, and let's just use the colors. So the first thing I'm going to do is select on this color, and then if I want this color selected, or if I want this color to transition to that one, I first select where I want the color to go, and then I'm going to click the I, and then you see that the cursor changes to an I drop. So the letter I on the keyboard changes it, and then you're going to click there. So to repeat again, let me go to the select tool. You select the square that you want to change, and then you click the I key, and then the I drop, you click on the area where the color already exists, and that changes. We'll go down here, we'll do I, select, one more time with this one, and we'll do I, select, and there you have it. So I'm going to give you the colors of these so that you can actually choose them if you like, or you can choose your own colors. You'll see here that when you double click on the fill square, it brings up the hex code and the RGB code for these colors. I think it's easiest to work with the hex codes, but I'm going to just read them out to you and you can type them in. It's 629FBC. I'm going to cancel out, choose this one, double click quickly. And so for the second color, it's 40BAE7. Cancel out. Choose the third, double click, oops, double click, and that's 96D1EF. And the last, the pale blue, is E8F3FB. Cancel. And again, you can choose your own colors or go with these. I'll let you decide on that. I don't need 2 of them, so I'm going to select all these. I'm going to press my delete key, and they're done. Now what we're going to do is start to create the snowflake. And to remind you, in here you see that there are some lines, some sort of arrows here. This, if you see I'm highlighting it, it's all one object, so that's really a star with many sides. So what we're going to do is let's start with the center and then figure out how we're going to create those crossing lines as well. The best way to do that is to use our pen tool. So here, if you hover over it, says the pen tool, so we're going to click on there. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your pen tool, and as you can see on the top here, there's 5.5 in the ruler to 11. So the center of that would be the 8, or actually it should be, sorry, 5.5 to 10.5. So the center of that would be 8. So I like to get this as centered as possible. So what I'm going to do is click here. I'm going to hold the click down. Oops, I apologize. I'm going to click and not hold it down. And you can see I start creating a line, and it can be anywhere. It can go this way, that way, or straight down. To make sure that it's absolutely perfectly vertical, I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and see now it only goes in certain areas. So I'm going to go down here, and when I like the length of it, I'm going to click one more time. And you see now that I've clicked, they've created an anchor for it, and then I could click here, and then it fills in, but I'm going to Control Z to undo that move, and I'm going to go up here to my arrow and click on Select. So now I'm no longer using the pen tool, but back to my Select tool. What I'm going to do here is, you can see that there is no line and only fill, but we can't see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose I'm going to do I and choose the blue, so that you can see here that the fill is blue. And then all we have to do to make this line appear with color is to switch these. And you can see the double arrow here. If I click there, what it's done is it's taken the color that was in the fill position and turned it into the stroke position. And so if I click on my select, now you see that the blue color is there. So I'm going to see, now that I'm still in select, if I wanted to enlarge this, I could. I think maybe it should be a little bit bigger, and there. I'm going to be happy with that for now. Then what I'm going to do is select it one more time, and then I'm going to hold down my Alt, and I'm going to use my right arrow key. And you can see that it kind of got thick. Well, the reason it got thick is because I've created a second line. I'm going to, though, reverse that. And I'm going to start again. I'm going to select it, hold down my Alt, and arrow once. Then what I'm going to do is, that was a right arrow, I'm going to do the left arrow now. So I'm going to go left, and you can see that what I've done is I've created a second line, but I've put it right over the first one exactly. Because what I'm going to do now is only the second line is selected. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cursor and I'm going to hover over it. And then I'm going to, when it gets to the arrowhead here, instead of the cursor with a line, I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose Transform, and then I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to click Rotate, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to go 90 degrees, and then I'm going to click OK. Now what I've done is I've created a second line, and it has exactly centered. One is 90 degrees, and one is vertical, one is horizontal. So we have a cross. Now remember, in our example here, we also had these diagonal lines. So I'm going to create those next. So what I'm going to do is, again, select my vertical, hold down the Alt, click right arrow, then click left arrow, then I'm going to right click, transform, rotate. The first time I did 90, but I only want it to go halfway. So instead of 90, I'm going to do 45, which is half of 90. And you can see that it rotated 45 degrees. So what I'm going to do now is, before I copy this and put one over here going this way, I don't like that it's the exact same length as these two. I think it should be a little bit smaller. So what I'm going to do is choose it. And I'm going to go there and see, when you hover over this middle of the three little sort of diamond shapes there, it allows you to shrink the line. You can hold down the Shift key so that you're not changing it at all. And I'm going to make it about that small. Now, I'm going to deselect and then select again. And then I'm going to move it around. To get it back perfectly, do you see how it creates the line and then it says intersect? It's intersecting with both the vertical and the horizontal because there's two green lines. I'm going to let go, and now I have it in the position I want. So what I want to do now is I want to create a copy of this. So I'm going to copy, then I'm going to do right click, and I'm going to edit and paste, and that creates one just like that, but it puts it in the center of your artboard when you paste. So as I mentioned, there's a couple ways to do this, and what I'm going to do now is take this and I'm going to right click and I'm going to use our transform tool again, and what I'm going to do is reflect this time, and what that's going to do is it's going to make a mirror image and reflect it. You can choose to go horizontal or vertical. We want it to switch, as the arrow shows, vertically. I'm going to click OK, and now that I have that, I need to center it. So I need to get it to where it's the two green lines show on the vertical and horizontal. I unclick, and it looks like we've got things centered. So far we've created the beginning of our snowflake using our pen tool and copying and pasting and using our transform tools. The next thing I want to do is I want to put the little circles at the end of our lines. So here you see that there is the rectangle tool, but I'm going to click on it and hold. And I want the ellipse tool. So see, when you click and hold down, it gives you other options. I want the ellipse tool. This is going to work exactly like the square. So if you want a perfect circle, just like you want a perfect square, you have to hold the shift key before and then click and drag. I'm going to do this to about that size, and then I'm going to choose my select tool. And there we have it. Now in our example here again, we had solid, not an outline. So again, I told you that you could use the double arrow to swap the fill and the stroke, and that's what I'm going to do. Now it's at a size, I made it a size because it's easier to work with, and so I'm going to move it around here. You could hover over the little squares there, and when it becomes a double arrow, you could hold down your shift and then make it smaller. Sometimes that can be a little bit difficult, so another way of making this smaller is if you click on there, you see that the menu bar here changes. It shows the width and the height of this to be 2.7. If you unselect this, which means what that does is if I change the width, it won't affect the height. If I click it and it's shaded, that means whatever I do with this one, exactly the same thing will change here. So what I'm going to do is it's at 0.27. Let's change this. I'm going to click the cursor in there. I'm going to backspace a little bit. I'm going to change the 2 to a 1 and click on there, and it's made a smaller size. Let's see if that's going to work. I'm going to click and drag, and if I click and drag and I get the intersect for just that green line and let go, you can see that it's centered. So I like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Alt, drag, and I'm going to put it so that it intersects. And let me get that right, and there. And then I'm going to do Alt select and Alt select, Alt select, Alt select, Alt select. A little tedious, but it'll be worth it when the design is finished. And there we have it. So, coming along very nicely. Looks like we forgot one in the center. Let's go ahead and do that. So now we've got all of our dots ending our lines. The next thing we want to do is create the center star. And let's go back here and look at this. So when you're creating a star, which is also one of the options here over here, we choose ellipse. If you hold down, you'll also see that there's a star tool. We're going to choose that, but let's look at this design first. Here, I want to count how many of the points we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. So we're going to make an 8-pointed star. So let's go here, back to our file rather. Let's go into our star tool. And instead of dragging and creating the star, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click to bring up the dialog box so that I can enter the number of points that I want. We'll leave the size as is, and I want to go up to 8. You can also just type in, we don't want a 99 pointed star, we want 8, then click OK. And again, because I've been using, I'm going to go back to my select tool, because I've been using the fill rather than the stroke, for these, it's going to automatically create that. So I'm going to switch it because I want the outline. I don't want the fill. So let me just look here. I think what we need to do is, let me click and hold on this and let me increase the thickness of the stroke. Oh, I think I like that better. In fact, we should probably click, hold down our shift key, click, click, and click, and let's go 2, and we've made that thicker as well. I like that. So we're going to take this. I like to get to hold the bottom, and you can see, you'll know when you can grab it when it goes to an arrowhead. I'm going to click, and it too has a center, so we're going to try to get that right in the intersect. That looks good. We're going to let go, and hey, look at that. We've got our star in the middle there. Now, I think what we need to do is we also need to create circles for these. So let me do that real quickly and we'll start again. Okay, so I have speeded this up a little bit so that you didn't see me draw all the dots, and I have added them here, and I think our snowflake is starting to look really good. So what we have left is to do our little pointed sort of arrows here, and there's a couple of ways we can do that. So I'm going to choose one. We have 2 of them here. So what I'm going to do is I like the line segment tool myself. So what I'm going to do is click here, drag. We're going to do right there. You can see that when we did that, there's no stroke or fill, so it's pretty blank. So I'm going to just click 1 there. And let me do 2 because we had the other lines at 2. Let me take that away and see if that looks okay. Let's try it. So I'm going to make a copy of this, Alt and drag. Then I'm going to transform it, reflect. We're going to do the vertical. Then I'm going to go here and I'm going to attach it to that one. Let's see. Let me get it checked. It doesn't. So what I'm going to do is enlarge this. Drag down here. Let's try to get that. There we go. That looks better, doesn't it? So now that we have this enlarged, I'm going to click here to select the left. Hold down my shift, click right. And then I'm going to right click since I'm there, and I'm going to group these together so that this is 1. Then I'm going to, so that I don't have to make the 2 each time, I'm going to Alt and drag down a little bit. And that looks good so far. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy both of those. I'm going to Alt, drag down. I'm going to come here. Then I'm going to right click, transform, and then I'm going to reflect it. And instead of the vertical this time, I'm going to do the horizontal. I'm going to click OK, and you see how it changed. I'm going to go here and try to position these into a similar place as those there. And that looks pretty good. So then what I'm going to do is do these 2, Alt. What I'm going to do is right click. I'm going to transform. Let's rotate these 90. There we go. Let's get these in here. That looks good. Alt, drag, make a copy, right click. I'm going to transform, reflect. I'm going to do a vertical reflect here. Get that aligned there. Let's see how that's going. It's looking good. Okay, this one isn't exactly centered, so let me see the green line there. That looks better. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do Control and the minus sign to shrink it back just so that we can get a better view of it. Let me hold down the space bar key to get my hand so that we can drag this around. And another easy way to do it is to go into View and do Fit All in Window so that it gets to a pretty decent size here, so that it takes up most of the screen here. And it's looking very close to our snowflake. The only thing we have left is to take one of these, click on there, and we're going to Alt. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reflect this one. I'm going to rotate it. I'm only going to do 45. Where does that take it? It did. And I'm going to put that right about there. And then I'm going to Alt. I'm going to reflect. And let's do a vertical. That looks good. Let me drag this over and get this right aligned there. That looks good. I'm going to go choose, hold down the shift, choose that one, hold down Alt, drag down, created both of them. They're still selected. I'll right click, I'll transform, I'll reflect, I'll do horizontal, say OK. I'll maneuver these up to where they should be. And look at that. We've got a snowflake, folks. All right, the last part of this, I think, would be to add some variations in the color. I was just using the darkest colored blue so that we could get a nice contrast and you could see it very clearly. But I do think that we need to add some color here. So again, what you want to do is select the things that you want to change. So I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to hold my shift, choose this one, and this one. And I'm going to do I, and I'm going to do this beautiful lighter blue, and look at that. We've changed those colors. Also, probably want to do this line, I again. I turns into an eye drop. We choose. That was a fill, so we'll have to do the line. It's only one. We wanted it to be two. And, oops, that. Let me do the select tool. And that's got some blue going. I think this star should probably be blue as well. And I did the fill, so we'll undo that. We only got the one. We'll change it to two. And you see how, let's see here. So this lighter blue is above the dots. Do you see how the outline goes above that? So what we want to do is it would look better if we took this 8-pointed star and put it behind all these so that you don't see the outline overlapping. So what I'm going to do is select it. I'm going to right click. I'm going to do transform. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do arrange, and I'm going to send it to the very back. Do you see how now it's behind? All right, that's looking good. What else can we change? We've got this other pretty powder blue here. So what could we change to be blue? Why don't we do this? Hold shift down, the second one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Do an eye and the powder blue. And then you want to switch this, make it 2. Go select. So how did that look? Okay, it's not bad. And let's see. Is there anything else we want to do? Does that look good? Are we close to this one at all? I think we're pretty close to that one, yeah. I think we've done almost exactly. That's surprising. All right. So, actually, yeah, we don't have this one. Let's do this one. And shift, I, we'll do this powder. All right. So there is our artwork. We have created a geometric snowflake for our holiday card. That wraps up this lesson, and we'll see you for the third one.